Good afternoon and welcome to TUTV. My name is Hunter Lynn, hosting for the first time.
And I'm Sara Moore, not hosting for the first time. Now, Hunter, what did you do this weekend? What were you up to?
Yeah, I went down to Oklahoma City to see a concert. It was a small rock artist that my friend really enjoyed, and I had a great time. How about you?
I went to a wedding in St. Louis of a TU grad. He was sadly not in TUTV, but, you know, it's super fun. And I got to go to the St. Louis Zoo, which is like one of the best zoos I've been to.
How about that?
It was really great. And the St. Louis Art Museum, which is also awesome. Like, would strongly suggest people taking a trip up there to go to the art museum.
Really? Do you think the art museum is better or worse than the ones we have here in Tulsa?
Definitely. It has a lot more work, and it has a lot more, like, famous work. But our museums here in Tulsa are really fun and special. Gilcrease has a lot of awesome Native American art, which is really cool about it. And Philbrook has a lot of really fun traveling shows and lots of other stuff. So it kind of depends what you're looking for in an art museum. But it was really exciting to get to go somewhere with such a large collection.
I'm still waiting for Gilcrease to reopen so I can go for the first time.
I will be graduated when Gilcrease opens.
I'll tell you what.
We look forward to it. Hopefully we'll have a package about it someday. But while we're at it, we're going to move on over to a package about the Tulsa Fair. See you guys in a bit.
This week, TUTV went on location to check out the Tulsa State Fair. The fair consisted of various attractions that catered to both kids and adults, with heart-stopping rides and fun games for the whole family. The carnival-like atmosphere was most apparent during the night, when many colorful light displays and food stands caught the eyes of all passing by. Even though the crowds were large, we were still able to enjoy the less than healthy but delicious foods from many of the vendors present at the event. The carnival games, while virtually impossible, still provided a fun challenge to mix up the experience without busting our wallets too bad. If thrilling rides and high cholesterol food aren't your thing, the fair featured many indoor attractions such as a petting zoo and cellar booths featuring local businesses from the Tulsa area. Overall, the experience at this year's Tulsa Fair was a night of fun to remember, and we hope to visit next year when TUTV returns for another special report. Until then, I'm Glenn Gutierrez, signing off.
Welcome to TUTV. I'm Aristotle Orsini.
And I'm Bruce Bigler.
There's been a lot of news around the world this week, so let's jump straight into it.
Over the weekend, a tropical depression rapidly intensified into Hurricane Milton, which could become the second major hurricane to hit the state of Florida in as many weeks. Milton formed in the Gulf of Mexico, becoming a tropical storm on Saturday and a hurricane on Sunday. As of Sunday afternoon, Milton had winds, making it a Category 1 hurricane. Weather models predict Milton will strengthen into a major hurricane before making landfall tomorrow on Florida's west coast near Tampa. On Saturday, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis declared a state of emergency in 35 counties expected to be struck by the hurricane. Florida is still reeling along with much of the southeastern U.S. from Hurricane Helene, which inflicted upwards of $30 billion in damages to the region. Like Helene, Milton is forecasted to make landfall as a Category 3 or 4 hurricane.
On Sunday, the International Longshoremen's Association, ILA, suspended its 3-day dock workers' strike until January 15th after reaching a tentative wage deal with the U.S. Maritime Alliance. The USMX, which represents shipping employers, has offered a 62% wage increase over the next 6 years. The offer needs to be approved by the union to take effect. A major concern of the ILA, which represents about 65,000 workers on the East Coast, is the use of automation in U.S. ports. Representatives of the union fear that the use of automated cranes, trucks, and other machinery will lead to fewer jobs for dock workers. East Coast port workers make an average of $81,000 a year, which would increase to more than $143,000 if the ILA's original request for a 77% wage increase over 6 years was honored. President Joe Biden said on Sunday that he would not intervene in negotiations.
Last week, a 165-page filing from special counsel Jack Smith was made public, offering the most detailed case yet that former President Donald Trump broke the law after losing to Joe Biden in 2020's election. The case against Trump was completely changed earlier this year after the Supreme Court ruled that presidents cannot be prosecuted for any official act of their office. The new report affirms that Trump's actions were private in nature and thus not covered by that ruling. In the filing, Smith writes, quote, "When the defendant lost the 2020 presidential election, he resorted to crimes to try to stay in office," end quote. Among the accusations made against Trump, the filing alleges that he, while president, spread false election claims that he himself called crazy, ignoring Vice President Mike Pence's request to accept an electoral loss, and allegedly responded to reports that Pence had been escorted to a safe room during the Capitol riot on January 6th with "so what?" Trump will not be tried before the presidential election on November 5th.
And now for a glimpse at news from around the world. Flooding and landslides in central Bosnia-Herzegovina killed at least 18 people this weekend. Jablanica, southwest of Sarajevo, saw some of the worst damage after a quarry above the town collapsed. 3 people were killed in the town of Fonica after a river burst its banks. Yesterday marked the 1-year anniversary of the war between the State of Israel and the political organization Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Nearly 70,000 people, mostly Palestinians in Gaza, have been killed in the conflict, which ignited after a surprise Hamas incursion into Israel on October 7, 2023, killed 1,200 Israelis, including 799 civilians. Thousands of protesters gathered in support of Palestinians over the weekend, including in Rome, where a peaceful demonstration was derailed by a small group of violent protesters.
And now, to discuss some of these major world events, we are joined by Hunter Lin. So Hunter, what sticks out to you from this week's stories?
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me, and I would like to bring up Hurricane Milton first, because as we have now seen from recent reports, it intensified to a Category 5 major hurricane with winds exceeding 180 miles per hour on Monday, is currently a Category 4 headed directly towards Tampa Bay.
I've actually heard reports that they're considering it a Category 6, which is not a real thing, but it's apparently reached such a high speed of the top 5 hurricanes this side of the world has ever seen that they want to make up a Category 6 just for it. Have you heard about this?
I've not, but it would not surprise me. You see, as ocean temperatures continue to rise year over year, we can only expect to see more and stronger storms in the Atlantic and Pacific, which will mean more damages and higher fatality rates for hurricanes.
Hunter, so how do you expect these regions that were just devastated by Hurricane Helene last week, how do you expect them to take this crisis in stride?
Yeah, unfortunately, the damages will likely only compile. Debris that has not yet been cleared from Helene will become a bunch of projectiles hurtling through the air at 100 miles an hour once Milton hits. Additionally, there have been barrier islands in and around Florida that were disconnected after their bridges were destroyed by Helene that could face a similar problem if Milton strikes with such intensity as it has now, which is why I believe that so many counties have been ordered to evacuate in the lead up to this storm striking likely tomorrow evening.
Absolutely. What else about the news? We got anything else to talk about, Hunter?
Yes, well, it's now been 367 days since the Israel and Hamas, or Israel and Gaza conflict, if you prefer, has ignited, and we have seen thousands and thousands of civilian deaths in the month since, a terrible tragedy that likely seems to be heading towards no resolution anytime soon. What do you all have to make of this?
I think that we have seen just really tragedy after tragedy with one region striking another back and forth, just involving more countries and more countries. How do you think that this war will proceed, and what is the most likely option for peace or an end to this war?
Yes, unfortunately, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu knows that a conclusion to the war will likely see him being expelled from office and charged for crimes. He's been Prime Minister of Israel for over 20 years now, and he has sold Israelis on the idea that he and only he can protect them from a perceived enemy outside their borders. He has done this, from some examples, allowing Iranian money to enter Hamas through Qatar. He allowed trucks full of briefcases of cash to enter the Gaza Strip, knowing that it would benefit only Hamas. He understands that keeping Hamas strong weakens the possibility of a two-state solution in Israel and Palestine being achieved, which is politically beneficial for him.
Yeah. Very well said, Hunter.
Thank you so much for coming on, for speaking about these things with us today. We'll be interested to see how these stories continue to develop.
Yes, thank you very much for having me.
Turning back to Hurricane Milton, Hurricane Milton hits this Thursday in Tampa at 1 a.m., and this is only 1 week after Hurricane Helene hit Tampa as well and the rest of the East Coast. We are expected to see winds of over 180 miles per hour, and it is going to cause a lot of devastation. As just previously said, Hurricane Helene killed over 100 people, and there are a lot of casualties already happening in Tampa. Turning over to Tulsa weather, it is going to be a high of 92 on Saturday, and it's going to start to get a little bit lower into the 70s next week, hopefully. This is the hottest Oklahoma October has been in a long time. Last year, it was over 6 degrees cooler during this time that year.
Hey guys, today I'm here talking to Sophia, who is one of the organizers for TU Students for Palestine. So if you could tell me a little bit about the club and just give us some information about it.
Yeah, so TU Students for Palestine is a unofficial organization, sort of a group of like-minded students that are focused on spreading awareness, educating the TU population, and hopefully getting the TU administration to listen to us about our demands. And we actually have two organizations. One is TU Students for Palestine, which is sort of the action group, and then there's Give Gaza Hope, which is a chartered organization as of last week. And
Yay!
yes, very exciting. And that group is more focused on educating and fundraising for Gaza.
Awesome. So what kind of events or action do you guys take as a student group?
So for Give Gaza Hope, they're trying to start tabling events and bringing in speakers to talk to us about the conflict itself, because this didn't start last October 7th. This started really a couple millennia ago, right? The
Right.
history of this land has gone on for years and years and years, and I think it's important for all of us to learn about it so that we can make informed opinions about the conflict and how to end it.
Yeah.
And for TU Students of Palestine, the action we take is more political oriented. We have 3 demands for admin. One is for them to publicly condemn human rights violations. The second is to call for a ceasefire. And the third is I forgot what the third is.
That's okay.
It's okay, but the most important one is to publicly condemn the human rights violations. And the way we do this, as many of you probably heard last May, we had a protest. And recently we've taken up chalking. I'm sure many of you have seen the chalk around campus. And this is sort of the first step. We're trying to remind students that this has happened and encourage them to live mindfully, because we should be very grateful to live in relative peace.
Yeah. So what kind of responses have you guys been getting from the chalking? Because I know that I've been hearing a lot of people talk about it in different ways around campus.
Right, yeah, we've had very mixed responses. Of course, there's been like a lot of support from people, and there's also been a lot of not support. A lot of people have called us anti-Semitic. A lot of people have said that we are calling on the death of the Israeli state. None of this is true. We are a group focused on human rights and promoting peace and love. Any of the messages you see around campus, all of them are for humanity, right? All of them are to remind you that we want to protect the people that are dying in Palestine. And we are not anti-Semitic in nature. To assume that is frankly absurd. Administration, if many of you probably haven't heard, there's a new policy as of last month about demonstrations. I would encourage you all to read it, but part of it is that they are allowed to remove chalk at any time. We've noticed that our chalk tends to get removed a lot more often than more like neutral chalk, like sorority chalk and rough chalk. So we're currently trying to figure out how to stop that, but I think that was a little bit odd.
Yeah, it is odd. Not to, take too far of a stance on this, as a interviewer and a bystander in this, but yeah, it is weird to me that the university is allowed to remove things that aren't saying anything hateful. None of it's hateful speech, and so I think it's really important to recognize how those kinds of rules for the administration are affecting students and what we're allowed to say. So I'd love to hear from you kind of personally why you really wanted to get involved with these organizations and like what this all means to you.
Well, I'm a political science major. I really, I've always cared about current events. I've always cared about history. And for me, this one really hit home, not just because I'm a Muslim, but really the videos that come out of Palestine are abhorrent, they're shocking, it's awful to see. And it's not just Palestine, Congo, Sudan, Ukraine, all of these places there's like endless suffering. And I hate to see it, right? And I want to be the change, and I want everyone on TU to be the change, because if nobody speaks out, nothing will ever change.
Yeah, thank you so much for being such a force for change on this campus. Despite, any kinds of negative things people say, I know people like me really have been appreciating seeing the efforts and like knowing that there are like-minded people on this campus. And, I think it's really important for colleges to be involved in these kinds of things. Protesting war has always really started on the college campus. Right. And so I'm glad to see people taking on that fight here at TU in 2024.
And I'd encourage everyone to get involved. I made an Instagram as of 2 hours ago. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's S for P, or TUS for P. So you can follow that. I can DM you all the group. Anyone who wants to join can get the GroupMe link and get updates from us.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today and letting us know how to get involved.
Yeah, thank you.
And we welcome you back to the desk. I'm Joe McCurdy.
And I'm Bruce Bigler. Here, we're going to be covering some of the most exciting sports events going on, arguably across the nation, right on our campus of University of Tulsa.
Tulsa's got some great sports. All positive sports.
Yeah.
Nothing but positivity.
So with no further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into those stories. Tulsa football faced off against Army this past weekend, a matchup that was preceded with pre-game festivities that brought an excited crowd to Skelly Field. The game got out to a shaky start for Tulsa after a turnover on downs at their own 39-yard line that led to Army scoring on a short field. Tulsa would respond in their next possession, going down the field on 16 plays for 75 yards. The drive ended with Utah State grad transfer Cooper Lega getting in the end zone on a quarterback sweep. Lega came in for Kirk Francis constantly throughout the game as a running option for TU. After Tulsa's second offensive drive, Army scored on 6 of its 8 total possessions, outrushing and outpassing the Golden Hurricane. Tulsa didn't see the red zone for the remainder of the game and gave up 481 total yards as they lose their second straight conference game and their third loss by more than 20 points as Army defeated Tulsa 49-7. Tulsa will go into a bye week before facing Temple on the 19th.
For the first time in 35 days, Tulsa men's soccer has won a match. The Golden Hurricane faced off against Florida Atlantic, who came into the match with a record of 2 wins, 3 losses, and 3 ties. In a scoreless first half, Tulsa was outshot 8-3 in favor of FAU. Of the 8 shots, 5 were on goal, all of which were saved by goalkeeper Alex Lopez, making his 4th straight start this season. In the second half, Tulsa broke the 0-0 tie with a score in the 51st minute after a cross from Niels Orwall was poked into the goal by Heis Hovis, his first goal of the season and his first start as a Golden Hurricane. FAU answered with a goal in the 64th minute, maintaining a 1-1 tie for the majority of the second half. With less than 2 minutes remaining, committed a handball in the box of a kick from Yuki Sekiguchi that turned into a last-minute penalty kick. With the game on the line, Camilo Vargas came in clutch from the penalty mark, putting Tulsa over the top for their second win and their first conference win of the season.
The Tulsa women's soccer team hosted conference foe East Carolina for senior night, where the Golden Hurricane honored 9 seniors. The Golden Hurricane are no strangers to the Pirates of ECU, with their last regular season matchup ending in a 2-2 tie after a last-second goal by ECU. In the Thursday night faceoff, ECU found the goal first after a free kick from ECU's Julia Vieira found the head of Lucy Fazacurli and quickly into Tulsa's goal. Tulsa would remain scoreless for the remainder of the match, losing 1-0 to the Pirates with only 11 shots and 4 shots on goal. This is Tulsa's 3rd conference loss of the year and will travel to face off against UT San Antonio on Thursday.
Tulsa women's volleyball faced off against 2 conference opponents this weekend. On Friday, Tulsa played host to the Rice Owls. Going into the match, Rice was voted number 1 in the American, finishing 9 spots higher than the Golden Hurricane. Tulsa played a close match with 3 sets ending within 2 to 4 points of each other. Tulsa had a chance to take the upset. Tulsa lost the first set 22-25 before coming back and taking the second set 25-21. Late in the third, multiple Tulsa errors led to a Rice set win with a score of 22-25 before Rice closed out the Golden Hurricane 25-18 in the 4th set. After the loss to Rice, Tulsa looked to get back on track as they traveled to play Tulane on Sunday. After a close first set victory, Tulsa made quick work of the Green Wave, securing their 2nd conference sweep of the season. Tulsa is set to play 2 home matches this weekend with FAU Owls and South Florida Bulls visiting the Reynolds Center.
Joe, I don't know about you, but regardless of the score, I had a blast on the game on Saturday.
I mean, it was purely a lot of fun up until Tulsa stepped on the field. And if you ask me, I think a lot of this has to be looked at coaching-wise. We have a lot of great young talent on this team, a lot of great young talent coming in. But, you know, Kevin Wilson just isn't getting it done at the moment. And this is, again, our third loss of more than 20 points, with our only other wins coming against an FCS opponent and LA Tech, who is below us in terms of, you know, RPI. So
it's tough for sure. I think if any team starts the game by dropping onto the field in parachutes, that's probably our sign to call it right there.
Yeah, you can't, you know, I was sitting in the student section, you can't really, you know, heckle Army. They are our servicemen and they are serving our country. So it's kind of hard to talk smack in a way.
So true, so true. They're one of the only teams that I was but I was glad took away the win against us.
No, I will
They
be
deserve
cheering
it.
for
They
them.
deserve
They're
it.
undefeated. I'll be cheering for them to make it to the college football playoffs this year for sure.
Yeah.
So we welcome to the desk Caden Catcher. Caden, we're glad to have you. What do you have to say for Tulsa sports this weekend?
We need to fire Kevin Wilson. I'm sorry to say it. We got to do it. We haven't been good since my freshman year. I don't know why we kicked off Montgomery. I do know why, because he wasn't very good either. But we need a whole new team. I think Kirk Francis is all right, but his coach sucks. I'm sorry. Kevin's not going to watch this, I hope. Yeah.
And even if he did, I think it's something that needs to be said. I share the same opinion as Caden does. Again, we are both seniors. Our last competitive season where we actually had momentum going anywhere was our freshman year. And it's truly sad to see the plummet that Tulsa football has taken. All of our eggs are currently in Eric Conkle's basket, the head basketball coach here at Tulsa,
And he's not even that good. He's much better than Wilson, but at the end of the day, we're not a Power 5 team in any sport.
No.
And just put football is way better than basketball, in my opinion. First off, we should be
Agreed.
putting more effort into that than basketball.
I'm pretty sure we rank in the top 15 of easiest schedules in the nation. The fact that we are 2-4 and losing by 20 points or more is really, really scary.
It's embarrassing. I really wanted to go to a bowl game before I graduated, and I think I'll probably be 50 before that happens again.
So do you see any hope in any sports for TU?
In the fall, I would say. I feel like the fall sports have been,
rowing,
overall.
women's rowing.
Women's rowing.
Women's rowing is a spring sport, unfortunately. I mean, they're both years, but no.
Yeah, that's
Women's
the only
volleyball
team
is off
I
to a
like.
great start. They're like top 60 in RPI.
It's pretty good. Better than football.
Better than football. I mean, I think we're all just ready for spring to start because women's basketball and men's basketball.
And that means fall is over. That means we're done with football.
It'll be warmer or
Thankfully.
cooler outside.
Thankfully.
I'm so done with this weather.
Fingers crossed.
Well, thanks for joining us on the Sports Desk. We'll
Fire
see you
Kevin
next time.
Wilson.
Hi, and welcome to Art Bites, your weekly rundown of what's happening in the School of Art Design and Art History. This week, Painting 1 students started painting their second painting of the semester. They're working with oil paint on canvas paper, while the Painting Studio students work with oil on canvas fabric. The Painting 1 project is based around storytelling with an object. One student chose a golf ball and went really literal with the storytelling element by creating a painted comic. Another student chose to depict some curtains hanging in her home. The Drawing 1 class started working on indoor one-point perspective drawings and explored both Phillips Hall and campus as they worked on their new perspectival skills. This is a fairly traditional assignment for artists, but not to worry, the students just finished up an extremely creative self-portrait assignment where they got to get crazy with color, different collage elements, and abstraction. In printmaking, students began working on their first carving. This is done with the sharp tool on a soft linoleum block. When the blocks are ready, students will ink them up and place down paper to end up with copies of their design, just like a stamp. This comes after their first assignment where they created monotypes, a printmaking technique where a printmaker puts down a layer of ink on a piece of plexiglass and wipes out areas of ink to create depth of color. A piece of paper is then laid down and you end up with a one-of-a-kind piece of art. Join us next week on Art Bites as we investigate more of what the art students are up to. And don't miss out on the faculty show, which closes this Wednesday the 10th. You can find it in the Alexander Hogue Gallery in Phillips Hall, open from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
Hello, welcome to TUTV. I'm Aristotle Orsini.
And I'm Anderson Bell. We have some amazing stories this week, so let's jump right in. Magazine Dreams, a 2023 indie hit starring Jonathan Majors, will finally get its big screen debut. The film about a troubled bodybuilder determined to become champion was picked up by independent distributor Briarcliff Entertainment, with plans to release it in early 2025. After its spectacular premiere at the 2023 Sundance Film Festival, the film received widespread critical praise from its limited audience and won the Special Jury Award for Creative Vision. Searchlight Pictures won the initial distribution rights in a tight auction, and Major's galvanizing performance received much praise ahead of the expected hot debut in December of 2023. However, this all came undone later that year after Majors was arrested and convicted of assaulting his ex-girlfriend Grace Jabari, which resulted in him losing his overarching role within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and Searchlight dropping the film from its release slate. However, Briarcliff is in no stranger to controversial releases. The company also recently acquired distribution rights to the Donald Trump and Roy Cohn drama, The Apprentice, which will release on October 11th after major studios collectively refused the provocative film in the midst of a turbulent election cycle. Tom Ortenberg, founder of Briarcliff, praised Magazine Dreams as, quote, a visceral experience that challenges the perceptions of ambition and identity, end quote.
Country music star Garth Brooks has been accused of sexual assault through an anonymous filing in a California court this Thursday. The allegations come from a makeup and hairstyle artist who began working for Brooks in 2017 after previously working for his wife Trisha Yearwood. The plaintiff filed under the pseudonym Jane Roe and alleges that Brooks repeatedly exposed himself to her and forced her to grope him during 2019. The suit also alleges that Brooks raped Roe in a hotel room in Los Angeles during a work trip. Brooks has strongly denied all allegations and has accused Roe of harassment, extortion, and defamation. A month ago, Brooks filed as an anonymous plaintiff to block the allegations from coming public and claimed that Roe has been repeating lies and threats in an effort to secure a private hush money payout. The initial lawsuit claims the defendant sought to damage Brooks', quote, well-earned reputation as a decent and caring person, to extort the country star and antagonize his family. Attorneys for the anonymous Roe told CNN that the preemptive filing by Brooks was nothing more than, quote, an act of desperation and attempted intimidation, end quote.
Dr. Mark Chavez has pleaded guilty to one count of conspiracy to distribute ketamine to Matthew Perry, the Friends star who died in October 2023. Chavez made a formal plea to prosecutors last Wednesday, and the judge has scheduled sentencing for April 2nd. Perry died in late October last year after effects from a ketamine injection allegedly administered by his assistant shortly before he drowned in his pool. Chavez is one of the two doctors charged in Perry's death, along with the previously mentioned assistant. The other, Salvador Plasencia, was named in the plea as contacting Chavez to obtain the ketamine for Perry. Despite knowing each other for 20 years, Chavez admitted that Plasencia was unfamiliar with using ketamine and allegedly left vials for Perry's assistant to administer without supervision. Both Perry's assistant and Plasencia have not yet entered a plea, while Chavez faces a maximum of 10 years in prison for his role in the TV star's untimely death.
The box office this week was headlined by the colossal bomb of Joker Foi la Deux, the sequel to the 2019 smash hit starring Joaquin Phoenix. While early projections anticipated a $100 million opening, reality proved incredibly disappointing, with a mere $40 million domestic weekend and a 50% drop-off between Friday and Saturday. With poor critical reviews to match poor audience reception, the film serves as a disappointment for the studio, who was banking on the added star power from Lady Gaga to make another hit. This Joker franchise has remained polarizing for its departures from the comic book material, and many audiences seem turned off by misleading trailers that hide the musical nature of this rated-R superhero title. Audience is comprised mostly of male adults ages 18 to 34 who may have rejected the musical and courtroom drama, creating negative word of mouth that contributed to the significant drop-off.
Tulsa's downtown was lighting up last week for the first Friday art crawl at 101 Archer. Featuring spectacular works of art, craftsmanship, and creativity, this monthly event seeks to highlight local Tulsa artists and entrepreneurs while providing the public a chance to view those unique products. Structured much like a farmer's market, the event stretched down the street and featured numerous booths with local Tulsa artists spotlighting their creativity and talents. Many had small pieces or trinkets available for purchase, while others were offering individualized, handmade sketches that proved quite popular with TU students. First Friday also featured food and live music in the lobby area of the 101 Archer building. Earlier in the evening, some families relaxed on the Guthrie Green field to enjoy some breezy air and games before the sunset. These art crawls are organized by the Oklahoma Center for the Humanities on the first Friday of every month and offer a wonderful opportunity to view the work of many local Tulsa artists.
We're happy to welcome back to the desk Caden Ketcher to be our entertainment correspondent today. Caden, what do you think about what we just talked about?
Have you guys seen Joker 2?
No.
I've not.
Has anyone?
I don't know. I haven't either, but Joker 1 sucked.
Really?
Okay.
Joker 2,
That's interesting.
I hear is even terrible. I'm not watching it. I'm not going to pay for it.
Why?
Why did they say it was?
So,
Why didn't they say it was going to be a musical?
well, okay, first of all, if I could ask, what did you dislike so much about Joker #1?
Yeah, I thought it was.
I thought it was
okay.
a very good movie. It was
The
overhyped.
whole thing, it was like, we live in a society. I know that's
Right,
the joke, but
right.
like, it was literally just, we live in a society.
Sure.
And then it was,
That's
it
fair.
was annoying, honestly.
That's
It
fair,
was
I
yeah.
can
really
understand
annoying.
that.
I never watched the movie until about a year ago because, you know, all the like internet drama that followed it with like people being like, I'm just like the Joker. Like I just couldn't bring myself to watch it, and then I got really bored and I watched it and I was like, yeah, it's okay,
Yeah.
but like definitely not worthy of like a sequel and definitely not a musical.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I watched the movie far after it released in theaters. I thought it was a pretty good movie. I would give it maybe a 7.5 out of 10, but it definitely was overhyped, so I can see where the angle of annoyance comes in.
I watched the movie when it first came out, but I was also 16, so I loved
Right.
it back then. But now I hate it because it's made for 16-year-old edgy kids, and that's it. And DC needs to figure it out.
DC
Fire
doesn't.
all of the people at DC.
Well, they
and
did.
Kevin Wilson.
Yeah.
They did fire all the people at DC.
Well, that's good. I'm
yeah.
so glad. I'm glad they did. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What about? Have you heard about this Garth Brooks thing?
I'm really mad. Garth Brooks lives in Tulsa,
Right.
and he's like the only person I know who lives in Tulsa, like famous.
You don't know
So-
anyone?
No, I don't know anyone else. But like, I always thought he was a chiller, and now I'm really upset about it.
Right.
Because, I don't know. He's always had a weird vibe, I guess.
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel any better, Bill Hader's from Tulsa, and he doesn't have
Oh
any
yeah,
bad
no,
allegations.
he's a real chiller.
Yeah.
He's a real one. Unless he does something weird in the next couple years, then he's not a chiller.
Thank you, Caden, for joining us for entertainment.
Of course.
We'll see you next week.
Hi, and welcome back. Today, Hunter and I are going to talk a little bit about coffee houses here in town. We're inspired from that last package. So, Hunter, tell me, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about chalk since we just saw it?
Well, I have an espresso machine, so coffee houses are not my most frequented venue, but I've been to Coffee House on Cherry Street, and I must say that while it is a tad on the expensive side, I do love their baked goods.
Their baked goods, so good. They also have great gluten-free desserts if you're gluten-free. So would highly suggest whenever my dad's in town, we'll go there a lot of times and get a little coffee and a little dessert. Yeah, my favorite drink there, they have I think it's the polar bear, the iced polar bear latte, very delicious. They also make a good cappuccino.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty good with the dessert.
I'm a cappuccino fan, although I hope you're not drinking them after 1 p.m. The Italians will come for you.
I know. Wait, no, you're. Oh, wait, no, you're not. You're allowed to drink a macchiato, and it's not 1 p.m. It's 11 a.m.
11 a.m. There
11
you go.
a.m.
Well,
is
I'm always
the
2 hours
for...
behind.
Hunter is actually not here right now. We have photoshopped him in to be talking to me.
I'm a hologram.
Doesn't really exist. He's a hologram. You can phase through him. But yeah, you can have a macchiato, which is just a kiss of milk after 11 a.m. That's the direct translation from Italian. That's true.
There you go. The more you know, Italian language lessons with Sara Moore.
I've been learning Italian on Duolingo. And I've also been learning Latin, and now I'm being told to stop talking about my Duolingo.
Oh, hey, I only know Polish.
For more language learning, join us next week at TUTV. It's nice to have been talking to you today, Hunter.
Do widzenia.